Bhagavad Gita marathon from
Namah Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Bharatarine Nishesha Sunyavadi Vashatyam Bharine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Jaya Radha Gopinata Shri Radhe Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Mai Jaya Sudarshana Jaya Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Srimad Bhattam ki Jai, ISKCON Guru Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Te Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Nashprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama sloker bhaktir bhavati naishtiki mukam karoti vacham pangum langayate girim yatkripa tamaham mande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hari Om Tat Sat. So, um, actually, we're going to repeat the class that we gave last time, because I understand from Nanda Gokul Prabhu that throughout the video we didn't have any audio. So it was more like, I think, I was just talking and there was no audio. So I'm sure, none of you were able to hear what I was talking. So given that, so I think it's better to repeat the topic, that way, everybody can hear and not miss these particular verses, which are very important verses. So with that thought process in mind, we're going to redo verse number starting from 14 of we are doing Canto 1, Chapter 18. We were supposed to finish that canto today. I think we can't, because we have to redo the verses like we did last week. So with that thought process in mind, I'll do from verse number 14. So now this is, again, as we all know, it's a discussion between the rishis, headed by Raunaka. The question being asked to the Sutha Goswami, who was a disciple of Sukadeva Goswami in Bhagavatam. Text 14. The personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna Govinda, is the exclusive shelter for all great living beings, and his transcendental attributes cannot even be measured by such masters of mystic powers as Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. Can anyone who is expert in relishing nectar, rasa, ever be fully satiated by hearing topics about him? So, here again, the rishis are talking about the greatness of the Lord and the greatness of Harikatha, right? So there is, what they are saying is that there is no end to the glories of Krishna. Like Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes, all four are non-different from him. What does that mean? If it is non-different from him, it means they are also unlimited in nature. Krishna is infinite, and his pastimes, his qualities, and it is the name, and they are also. So, the in Chaitanya Amrita itself, it is Ananta say, right, with his unlimited millions and millions of heads, he has been, eternally, he has been the glories of the Lord, and he has not finished even a small portion of glories of the Lord. So we see that there is no end to the glory of the Lord, and it is very difficult for a living entity to perceive it. That's why it is explained that even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva cannot understand the glories of the Lord. Lord Brahma, as Prabhupada explains in the purport, is one of the living entities, but he is the most powerful of all the living entities, and he is empowered by the Lord to take care of us. So So Lord Brahma, who is the creator of everything, who is the topmost demigod, all the devatas, they are worship Lord, Brahma, and then they are all created by Lord Brahma. He is considered as the Parampita in this material world. Even Lord Shiva came from the eyes of when he was angry. Brahma. Even Shiva is higher in terms of tattva. Still, we see that Lord Brahma, he himself cannot understand that Vimohana Leela. So there was this pastime where, when Agasura, the snake demon, was killed, all the devatas were astonished, and then the people in Brahmaloka, they talked to Lord Brahma and said, this cannot be Adi, this has to be Vishnu himself. And then Brahma says, no, if Vishnu has taken avatar as Krishna, I definitely know, right? We may ask, that is very perplexing. Obviously Brahma knew, that's why he came and told all the and everything. So the reason that Lord Brahma temporarily was put into the illusion, like Arjuna was put in illusion, Brahma was put into illusion to prove a point, and then he goes. We know the story of how he stole the cow, the calves, and the cowherd boys. He put them in Brahmalok, and he came down. By the time 1 year had gone by, and he saw all the boys were there, and then that's when he saw he was actually Vishnu form, and that's when he surrendered and begged forgiveness from Krishna. And so Chaitanya Amrita also describes, if we want to unlimited glory of the Lord, then Chaitanya Charitamrita, this beautiful story is explained where Leela is mentioned, wherein once Lord Brahma goes to see Lord Vishnu, and then he goes to Vaikuntha, and in the Dwakas, or the door attendants, the outside, and he goes, and then he says, can you please tell Krishna, Vishnu, he has see him. So the Dwarapalakas go outside, and then they talk, and then they come back and say, the Lord is asking which Brahma has come. Plex. What is he talking about? What is who are the Brahma is there? Anyway, like he's thinking like that, and then not to go inside. He goes and he discusses all the going universe and the purpose that he has come, and then finally he asks, I have one doubt, my Lord. Why did you ask which Brahma has come? I am the only Brahma. What other Brahma is there? The universe, I am the only Brahma. See the Brahma universe. And then, Vishnu laughs, and then he calls, and then all other, there are other Brahmas, Brahma with 5 heads, Brahma with 6 heads, Brahma with 100 heads, Brahma with 1,000 heads, and Brahma with 1,000,000 heads actually come. And then they all come and pay obeisances to the Lord. Says, see, you are 4-headed Brahma, you have only four heads because you manage the most smallest of the universes. And the universe is so big, it is so big that the Brahma in that universe needs 1,000,000 heads or millions of heads to manage the affairs of the universe. So big a universe and all is there. So you are, that's when Brahma realizes who he is, and all other Brahmas, they pay dandavats to Vishnu. They go, and, the 4-headed Brahma, he realizes, still in that part he explains that it is, yes, even a Brahma with millions of heads, he cannot understand Krishna, because even millions is a drop compared to infinity, and Krishna is infinite, and we are all very infinite. So there's no way that we can understand fully the Lord. And then the same applies to Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva also, even though Vishnu Tattva himself expands, but still, leave alone Lord Shiva, even Vishnu cannot understand fully the glories of the Lord. We see that story in Mahabharata, where the son of the Brahmana was stolen, and then Krishna, the Brahmana comes and shouts. He comes to the court of Yudhishthira and says, what kind of kingdom you are running? And then Yudhishthira is like in anxiety, because Brahmanas have to be respected, right? Brahmanas have to be immediately respected. So he says, what are you saying? And then he says, in a kingdom where there is dharma is king, there is no way a son can die before a father. No parent should putra soha. The horrible the pain of seeing her children die before him. This is very horrible. So it means something you are doing bad. And then don't come down. We will find out and we'll make sure. Even if he has gone to Yamaloka, I'll bring him back. So then he goes the help of Krishna, and then Krishna and Arjuna, they travel and travel and go to everywhere part of the universe searching for this boy. They go to Yamaloka, and then finally, they understand that he is nowhere in the universe, over the universe, and they go to Vaikuntha Loka, and where the Vishnu had taken that boy because he wanted to see Krishna. He wanted to see Krishna. Even Vishnu, he wants to see Krishna. So Krishna is so big that even Vishnu cannot understand Lord Krishna. We may ask the question, if nobody can understand Krishna, what is the point in even trying? But we may not understand Krishna fully, but little bit of understanding about Krishna can give so much happiness. That's what was talked about in the last line. Can anyone who is expert in religion, nectar, rasa, ever be fully satiated in topics about him? Because Krishna is Nava Yavana, eternally youthful, eternally new, eternally beautiful, eternally, full of bliss. That the more and more and more we hear about him, the more and more happiness we receive, and there is no end to the happiness. So once we have tasted it, we cannot give it up. The problem is, as Srila Prabhupada says, we are in a diseased condition. So all these glories about Krishna, we get bored after some time, or we are not even interested in the first place. Why? A diseased person cannot, taste the sugar candy. So similarly, that is the problem. So we need to understand, try as much as possible to relish, because at the end of the day, it is hearing about Krishna is the medicine also, and it is the end goal also. Text 15. O Sutha Goswami, you are a learned and a pure devotee of the Lord, because the personality of Godhead is your chief object of service. Therefore, please describe to us the pastimes of the Lord, which are above all material consumption, for we are anxious to receive such messages. So, Srila Prabhupada takes this verse to talk the qualifications of the speaker and the hearer. The speaker needs to be very clear in his thoughts that his whole point of him, giving the class, if he in his life he needs to have Krishna as the object of his life. He cannot have any other goal. Only such a person is qualified to give class on Bhagavatam, and the only people should, Prabhupada talks, when it's, a qualified speaker and a qualified audience, then it is congenial for transcendence to occur there. Srila Prabhupada writes. So the rishis, they were also very anxious. They were also very elevated, so anxious to hear about Krishna. They did not have material purpose, neither the speaker nor the listeners. So that is the place where in this mood is very important in Krishna consciousness. We have talked about the importance of consciousness so many times. So when we go to a class, we need to be very clear why we are going to a class. We are preaching as well. We should be very clear why we are, talking about Krishna. So the question may arise: if I'm not very qualified, where my only object of service is Krishna, can I, so that does mean that I cannot preach? The answer is no. We can still preach, as long as stick to the explanations and the ideas, or the definitions, explanations, and translations given by a person who is God. We will see that in the how that is how that applies. We'll see in the next few verses. Sutha text 16. Sutha Goswami, please describe those topics of the Lord by which Maharaj Parikshit, whose intelligence was fixed on liberation, attained the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of Garuda, the king of birds. Those topics were vibrated by the son of Vyasa, Srila Sukadeva. So the rishis here, they are asking what was the, they are not just satisfied with the overall, he gave a overall view of the life, the birth and the situations, the birth and the life and the achievements of King Parikshit. He finished by giving a summary of how he was cursed, and even then, he surrendered to Sukadeva Goswami and went back home, back to Godhead. So they were not satisfied with that summary version. Particularly, they were very anxious to hear about the discussions, because Srila Prabhupada, writes in the purport that here on one side you have Sukadeva Goswami, who is a perfect talker, and Maharaj Parikshit, who is a perfect listener. And because you have perfect in both the sides, the rishis were very anxious to understand what happened between two perfect souls. So they wanted to know. Text 17. Thus, please narrate to us the narrations of the unlimited, for they are purifying and supreme. They were spoken to Maharaj Parikshit, and they are very dear to the pure devotees, being full of bhakti yoga. So, as we saw in the earlier verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavatam rejects Kaitava Dharma. That means any other form other than bhakti yoga is emphatically, directly or indirectly is rejected in Srimad Bhagavatam. That is why here they are talking about how this whole narration between the 2 points that are happening. First is that is bhakti yoga, and because it's full of bhakti yoga, it is dear to the pure devotees, and because it's also bhakti yoga, the second point is that it is satisfying, it is, and also it is purifying and supreme, right? So that is the nature of the talks about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 18. Sri Sutha Uvacha, O God, though born in a mixed caste, we are still promoted in birthright simply by serving and following the great who are advanced in knowledge. Even by conversing with such great souls, one can without delay cleanse oneself of all disqualifications resulting from lower births. A very, very important verse. Proven in the point that the birthright, if somebody is born in a lower family, he is not qualified. We see here Sutha Goswami, he is a mixed caste. Sutas generally is a mix, and in many parts of India, Sutas are generally treated as Shudras, So, Sutha Goswami, if we see just from the lens of birthright, he is all the rishi thing there, they were all doing yajnas and they were all higher Brahman class. But so from that angle, if we see, then Sutha is not qualified. He should be serving and hearing from them. But we see the other way around. So Srila Prabhupada writes, there are two qualifications of Sutha Goswami. The one and firstmost is he has heard Srimad Bhagavatam from the mouth of Sukadeva Goswami. So the moment, as Sutha Goswami explains, one hears a small conversations from a mouth of a pure devotee, Shravanam, right? So when it comes from a pure devotee, that's very important. When that Shravanam happens, we have started devotional service. And as I said in the previous classes in Nectar of Devotion, there are two things that happen, Shubhada and Kleshagni. Kleshagni means all is destroyed. That means all the sinful reactions, all the sins, all the roots of the sins, everything is together destroyed. So that means if all the karma is removed, that means that person is very pure. So even a little bit of devotion can do kleshagni, particularly when we associate a little bit with such a pure devotee as Sukadeva Goswami. And Sutha Goswami, he has heard the whole conversation of Srimad Bhagavatam, the topmost of all the topics, from the mouth of Sukadeva Goswami in the presence of all the rishis and the great devotees. So that itself is a great qualification, and that's why we see here that this has been acknowledged. Sutha Goswami by nature is humble. If he is not fit for a position, he wouldn't have accepted it. And if he is not fit for that position, the rishis wouldn't have given that position to him, making it. See, now they were all about to plan to do 10,000 year yajna, but now they understood that in Kali Yuga all these things will not work, and that's why they stopped the yajna and they gave importance to Sutha Goswami to listen all the narrations about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because they understood that these narrations are much, much more valuable than all the yajnas were planning to do, because ultimately they were planning to do the yajna for the benefit of humanity in Kali Yuga, and they understood that the most important act that they can do is hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, so that the future society, even if they learn half a verse, their life will become purified and they get rid of the effect of Kali Yuga. Srila Prabhupada in the gives the example of how Haridas Thakur, even though he was born in a Muslim family, still Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, based on his devotional service, elevated him to be Namacharya. He is our Acharya. It doesn't matter where we are born in. We all accept Haridas Thakur as an Acharya. And a person who doesn't do it, he is basically the lowest of the mankind. Right? Actually, we shouldn't even count him in the family of mankind. Text 19. And what to speak of those who are under the direction of the great devotees, chanting the holy name of the Unlimited, who has unlimited potency. The personality of God at unlimited in potency and transcendental by attributes is called the Ananta. So, he is now here glorifying, just not what to talk about, it's, just by having a little conversation with the purity, somebody becomes, all his, anarthas or sins from the previous births are destroyed. Then think about someone who has surrendered to a spiritual master, and under the direction of the spiritual master, he is chanting the holy name of the Lord, who is unlimited, because that way he will become. This is something important. Srila Prabhupada talks in the purport about how, first he explains that Krishna is unlimited, Krishna's name is unlimited. So while chanting the holy name of the Lord, we get in touch with unlimited, thereby we also become unlimited in our capability. You see, that's how devotees are able to achieve that are not ordinarily achievable by anybody. Devotees are able to achieve great things. And how is that achievable? Is because they are in touch with Krishna. In the glories of Priyavrata Maharaj, fifth Srimad Bhagavatam, there is this verse about how he became the second sun, because he was not happy there is only one sun, because when the sun is on the north side, the south side is having winter. We see that, right? Here it is summer now. In the northern hemisphere, it is winter. It's very cold. So Prithu Maharaj, he became the second sun, traveling, and with the wheels of his chariot, he created the 7 continents and everything. He was such a powerful personality. And then, in Bhagavatam, it's not because he was a devotee of the Lord. And Prabhupada quotes this verse: Ainanda tanuja kinkaram patitamam vishame bhava kripata pankajau stita drisham vichintaya. So he's talking about how it is not wonderful, because when somebody becomes attached to the lotus feet dust and Krishna picks him up and puts him on this lotus feet, he is unlimitedly powerful by the mercy of the Lord, because he is in touch with the unlimited. So then I mean, many years, why am I not in touch with the Supreme? And then Prabhupada explains the reason is there are 10 offenses to the holy name, and these offenses stop us from actually forging that link strongly. So how do I do an offenseless chanting? The easiest way, Srila Prabhupada says, is if we surrender to spiritual, accept his directions, and under the directions of a spiritual master, when we chant, then we can do offenseless chanting. Then you will see, the graph is going, vertical, or your, the devotional service taking off. So it is very, very critical to surrender to a pure devotee of the Lord, accept his directions, and under his guidance and direction, chant the holy name of the Lord. Text 20. Yet, if now it is now ascertained that he, the personality of Godhead, is unlimited and there is none equal to him. Consequently, no one can speak of him adequately. Great demigods cannot obtain the favor of the goddess of fortune, even by prayers. But this very goddess renders service unto the Lord, although he is unwilling to have such service. Sutha Goswami is further glorifying the glories of the Lord. Right? Is comparing how Krishna is super great, that even Lakshmi wants, everybody wants Lakshmi in the material world. Everybody is behind, starting from Brahma to ant. Even the ant is searching for food and collecting and everything, and everybody wants, money, or valuable, and the most valuable things in the material world is Lakshmi Devi, right? So starting from asuras, it could be asura, devata, everybody in Lakshmi, everybody wants Lakshmi. But that Lakshmi, she serves the Supreme Personality of Godhead by, massaging the lotus. All she wants in her life is to serve the lotus feet of the Lord. But Krishna is not even attached to that service from Lakshmi Devi. Right? This is very beautifully explained by Vrindavan Das Thakur in Chaitanya Bhagavat. Right? The time when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, left everything to, left Vishnu Priya Devi, who is the incarnation of Lakshmi herself, and then, went to took sannyas. Vrindavan Das Thakur is writing, see this great astonishing thing. This whole world is running behind Lakshmi, and that Lakshmi Devi is Lord, and this Lord has given that Lakshmi Devi, that great devotee, he has even given up that great soul on entities. So this is very beautifully explained that Krishna is ready to even give up Lakshmi. He is not even attached to Lakshmi or her service from Lakshmi Devi. That is, that shows unlimited of the Lord, that he is so self-sustained, that he is not dependent on anybody, not even Lakshmi Devi. But still he accepts the service of Lakshmi and all the live, if he is not even attached to the service of Lakshmi Devi where we are, she is his, internal potential of the Lord. The Lord is even detached from that, he doesn't, but then, what to talk of us? So, but still out of his mercy, he is ready to accept our service, become told by the service of a living entity. That shows the unlimited glory of the Lord. It shows how merciful and how reciprocative Krishna is, right? Material world, people are not very reciprocative. Whereas, even the best of the persons cannot be very reciprocal, because we are limited. But where we see here, Krishna is unlimitedly reciprocal. Text 21. Who can be worthy of the name of the Supreme Lord but the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna? Brahmaji collected the water emanating from the nails of his feet in order to award it to Shiva as a welcome. This very water, the Ganges, is purifying the whole universe, including Shiva. So further glorifying Krishna, Goswami talks about how Ganga Mata is worshipped because she is the Charnamrita of the Lord. During the pastime of Vamana Dev, when he took the form of Trivikrama, he used one leg to measure the upper universe. And that upper universe, when he was measuring, the tip of his lotus feet toe, touched the covering of the universe, and the covering was a small crack. And through that crack, one drop of water from the spiritual world came, washed his lotus feet, and that one drop of that water from the spiritual world is the eternal Ganga that we are seeing. All the water is just that one drop from spiritual world. Then we understand the size of the spiritual world. So that Ganga, and she washed the lotus feet of the Lord, and she is, because she's, the Charanamrita of the Lord, everybody wants Ganga. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, there are 3 things that are explained that are very, 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 very important for somebody to become a devotee. If we get these 3 things, we are assured of becoming pure devotee. What are those 3 things? They are the greatest success in devotional service. One is the water that washed the lotus feet of a pure devotee. The Mahaprasadam, or the Uchista, leftover food of a pure devotee. And the third one is the lotus feet dust of a pure devotee. If some way or other, by hook or crook, if we are able to receive a smallest quantity, then become successful. So the Lord Shiva, even though he was the most powerful personality in the whole universe, still was hankering, and by Brahma, gave that same water as a welcome to Lord Shiva, and Shiva accepted it on his head, because that's the only place that's fit for the Charanamrita of the Lord. So he received Ganga on his head. Even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, they worship Ganga, and the glory of Ganga is that she is the Charanamrita, or the lotus water that washed the lotus feet of the Lord. So here that has been described to show the glory of the Lord. If the glory of the Lord is such that one drop of water from his lotus feet is actually purifying the house. Text 22. Supreme Lord Sri Krishna can all of a sudden give up the world of material attachment, including the gross body and the subtle mind, and go behind the affection of the renounced order of life, by which non-violence and renunciation are consequential. So now he is glorifying the devotees who have heard the glories of the Lord. A devotee means one who has constantly hears the glory of the Lord. So what is the benefit achieved by such person? That is what is the, for that person who has, constantly heard the glory of the Lord, they become self-controlled. Or they become self-controlled because they are attached to Supreme Lord Krishna. And for them, and non-violence, which are very important for spiritual advancement, it is natural. We saw how jnana and vairagya, knowledge and vairagya, are byproducts of bhakti, and that point is being emphasized here, that even renunciation is very easy. So Parikshit Maharaj, he was super detached, right? Detached doesn't mean he gave up everything. There is a difference between giving up and being detached. You can still be part of the family, you can take care of your family, but at the same time you can be detached. And the other way around is true. You may be super attached to your family, but we are all not capable of also taking care of our family. That isn't it? First Bhagavatam, it says the father doesn't protect the son, the doctor doesn't save the patient. Is very true. So, the devotees, they have understood this, whereas non-devotees, how much ever they achieve greatness, they cannot have renunciation. You see how Vishwamitra, also greatest rishi, Haridas Thakur, was not able to be, moved even by Maya Devi herself. Maya herself came in the form of a beautiful, and still she couldn't, persuade, Haridas Thakur, who was so engrossed in chanting in a heart. So for such devotees, renunciation is easy. It doesn't mean that, it's not that Parikshit Maharaj, he was a king, he was worried about the world, he was taking care. We saw how he was super conscious. Every corner of the world he traveled, made sure everybody, he established dharma so that everybody can be happy, Kali cannot come in. All these things he took care. But at the same time, when somebody came and said that your time of death has come, only 7 days remaining, he just gave it up in just like that. He did not say, oh, if I go, what will happen? Will Kali come and make everybody bad? This, that. He things. He's completely surrendered, and he knew his time has come, and Krishna has given him some special service, so he was ready to give it up. On the other hand, karmis cannot do that. Prabhupada gives the example of 1930s or 40s. There was this very rich fellow in Calcutta, was very old, and he was in his deathbed, and when somebody came and told him that the doctor came, checked, and he said that this guy will not survive more than few hours, that fellow was begging, doctor, I'll give whatever money you want, just make me live for one more week and everything. One more week? The doctor said, I can't even extend your life by 1 minute. It's all in God's hand. The point is that even after living for so many years, such a rich guy, satisfactory life, children, everything, still he was not so attached. Whereas the devotee, they not only attached to family and detachment, they were not even attached. They are ready to even give up their body and mind, and they are ready to keep going to the next service. So that shows the super excellence of devotional service, that when we practice devotional service, renunciation, non-violence, knowledge, they all come to us automatically. They are all automatically appear in a devotee. Text 23. O Rishis, who are as powerfully pure as the sun, I shall try to describe to you the transcendental pastimes of Vishnu as concerned. As birds fly in the sky as far as their capacity allows, so do the learned devotees describe the Lord as far as their realization allows. So this was the verse that I was mentioning when we were talking previously about preaching. Right? We may ask that question: if I'm not qualified, should I not preach or talk about Srimad Bhagavatam? So here it is explained that the birds can, they reach the sky by, for an eagle can fly very, very, very high. a chicken can fly with very, very little. There is a huge difference in capability. Similarly, to that amount that a devotee is realized or advanced in devotional service, to that level Krishna reveals to him, and to level he can explain the Lord to the others. So then we may ask this question, because eagle flies very high, he can see things that when you're at ground level, that's the bird's angle, right, or bird's eye. You can see things in a much higher, so much you can see much more, and you understand more things. Similarly, so us being a chicken in this chicken status where we can see very little, so we should never try to talk based on our own experience. This is very important for preachers. So we have great eagles. Who are the great eagles? Or Garuda is our acharyas, Srila Prabhupada, and the predecessor acharyas, and they have given us all the explanations from that highness. They have fully understood the Lord and they have given it. So as preachers, if we try to give our own perspective, because we can't fly high, our perspective is limited, our preaching realization will be limited, and that may not always 100% go well. So as a preacher, it is very important that we stick to the realizations of the previous acharyas, and we do not add our own purport or our own explanations or our own realizations, because we are still flying low. That realization may look great to us. For the chicken, rather than walking in the ground, flying even little may give it a bigger idea, but that doesn't mean that is suitable for everybody. So we need to be very careful as preachers. We should still preach, even though our single object, because that is Mahaprabhu's order. But how we can preach, we can take up that explanation that are given by devotees who are flying so high, and then pass it on to the other souls. Prabhupada says we should act as a postman. No adding, no deleting, no this thing. Just take it and then deliver it. Thereby, our capability to fly high will become more. Text 24 to 25. Once upon a time, Maharaj Parikshit, while engaged with bow and arrows, became extremely fat and hungry while following the stags. While searching for a reservoir of water, he entered the hermitage of a well-known Samika Rishi and saw the sage silently with closed eyes. So once Maharaj Parikshit went on a hunting trip. So the story talks with this is Prabhupada writes actually, this is a prelude to what, because they asked what was the discussion between Parikshit Maharaj and Sukadeva Goswami. So before any story starts, there is a prelude, and Srila Prabhupada says all preludes start with once upon a time. It's a famous once upon a time. So we see that this verse also starts with once upon a time. So the prelude starts whereby Parikshit Maharaj, he goes to the forest hunting and searching for hunting for stags, and as he some or other he becomes separated from his party, and he he reaches a stage where completely thirsty, completely fatigued, and full of hunger and thirst. He's completely in that situation. In the previous verse, that Maharaj, advanced devotee, for 7 days, right, he heard Bhagavatam without drinking even a drop of water, eating food or anything. But then how can come just 1 day searching for stags? Acharyas explain, because that is the will of the Lord. This is a special situation that is created. Prabhupada in the purport, like Arjuna, how Arjuna was put into illusion so that Bhagavad Gita can be spoken. Now, the certain event was, a pastime was done through Parikshit Maharaj, so that through him, Bhagavatam can be revealed to the world, right? So the same theme of grandfather is followed to the grandson, right? So we will see. Text 26. The Muni's sense organs, breath, mind, and intelligence were all restraints from material activities, and he was situated in a trance apart from the three: wakefulness, dream, and unconsciousness. Having achieved a transcendental position qualitatively equal with the supreme absolute. So, there are 3 states that are described: wakefulness, dream, and unconsciousness. That is, these are the 3 states a human can be in, right? The human mind either can be wakefulness, we are awake, we are conscious of what is happening around. We may be here, and then we know what is happening around us. And then there is a dream state, right? We are seeing, but we have not gone into a deep state, but we are dreaming about things. It's not deep sleep. And then there is deep sleep where we are completely unconscious. Actually, many people in Bhagavatam class fall in the last two category. They are more dreamful or unconscious rather than being in the wakeful state. All of you who are listening are in the wakeful state. So these are the three states the mind can be in. But then here it is described, the Rishi has achieved a state, three. What is that state beyond this three? That is the state where the Atma is in touch, with the Paramatma. In that state, it transcends the lower states of the mind, because Atma is higher than the mind. And when Atma gets in touch with the Supreme, what happens is when the Atma is in touch with the Supreme, so there is a different state or consciousness. The consciousness of the Atma itself is touched. It has nothing to do with the mind. So it has nothing to do with wakefulness, unconsciousness or dream state. It's beyond all these three. And that is not something that is describable here. Why? Because we are all in the mind platform, and what it is actually beyond the mind's capability to understand. It is on the soul platform. So a self-realized person can understand that state. And that was the state the Rishi was engaged in. He was in a self-realized state. Text 27. The sage in meditation was covered by the skin of a stag, and a long compressed hair was scattered all over him. The king, whose palate was dry from thirst, asked him for water. So the king enters, he sees this Rishi sitting, he's so thirsty, he's saying, "Can you please give me some water?" So this is not an ordinary circumstance. Srila Prabhupada writes in the Purport that such a self-realized soul and a pure devotee meeting one another is not an accident. It is an arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Otherwise, such two great souls cannot come together. It can happen only by the mercy of the Lord. The king, not received by any welcome, place, water and sweet addresses, considered himself neglected, and so thinking he became angry. So in olden days, or not even olden days, I can talk even like few years back in India, the guest, any kind of guest, particularly uninvited, unknown guest, or considered the representative of the demigods, they were worshipped, and to receive such a guest was considered as the highest honor. It was offered a place to sit, because they would have been, tired from traveling. Then first they will wash their feet if they are, higher position, a sannyasi or a brahmana. Then they will be offered water, and after drinking the water, they will be offered a food or a sweet addresses. The Prabhupada talks about how even a poor can invite strangers to their house. They can give a straw, mat to sit in. Straw mat is very easy. Anybody can do it. It doesn't cost anything. And then they can be given water. Water was free, not like today, level 1, level 2 restriction. You are paying, you have to measure the water. You have to buy water. No. They can offer water. And then sweet words. It doesn't cost sweet words to talk. These are all that even the poorest of the person in India could do. But we call ourselves an advanced society, but we teach our strangers. That's the first thing we teach. It's critical. I'm not saying that, it's very important we teach our kids that, because we live in a place where there is no law, nobody is greedy, and people are ready to do anything for the purpose of achieving money. Such a horrible state we are living in. What the poorest person could do in the previous few hundred years back, the richest person today cannot do. You can't invite a stranger to your house. Most of us are well-to-do, husband and wife working, we are earning enough, but still we build big houses, right? In Sydney, all the houses are very big houses But what is the use if we cannot? Those days, even the poorest guys, if you see, even today, if you go to India and see the old houses in southern India, you will see outside there is a place, just outside the house, the veranda would be, there will be a place, sitting place for even, even common peddlers. They can sit in anybody's house outside, and they can, in a hot sun, they can, aram say sit. It will be very cooling shade. They'll sit there, and then, the host, whoever comes outside, if he sees anybody sitting there, they'll ask him, water, do you want to drink water? This common even, 30, 40 years back. I remember, in my grandfather's house, they had this area outside where, even the commons will come, they will request for water, they were provided, some nourishment, and then food was shared. It was very common culture in India. The poorest could do it, and then today even the rich cannot offer this to anybody. So we are not advanced. We are actually going back. We are becoming more animalistic and a very horrible society. And the king was very insulted. Even in India, like few years back, if somebody is not invited into the house, or if somebody is not offered water or anything, these are all considered great insults. Actually, it means purposefully, you're insulting them. It was considered a great insult. And we see that the king, he being the king of the whole world, and when he was not welcomed and he was not given all these things, he felt very insulted that such a person is not doing it. Text 29. O Brahmanas, the king's anger towards the Brahmanas are unprecedented, being that the circumstance has made him hungry and thirsty. So it's not that the king was angry or envy. There can be no anger or envy in a pure devotee like Parikshit Maharaj. But then such things arose in him because of the mercy of the Lord. He wanted something special to happen, so he made the king angry. Otherwise, the king is very respectful to Brahmanas. He is super respectful to all the Brahmanas. We see how when Parikshit Maharaj was running the king, even though he was so powerful and he was a pure devotee of the Lord, still he ran the kingdom, on the consultation of the Brahmanas, right? He was never egoistic. So there is no way that Brahmana will be disrespected by the king. But here we feel that the king's anger, suddenly, first of all, there is no chance that hunger and thirst can affect him. Not only that affected, it also created anger and other bad things in him. That means it is very clear that it was changed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. While leaving, the king, being so insulted, text 30, picked up a lifeless snake with his bow and angrily placed it on the shoulder of the sage. Then he returned to his place. The king, did a tit for tat, Prabhupada says. But actually, Prabhupada also says the king by nature is not silly to do tit for tat. He is by nature very merciful. We see how he even forgave Kali, right, when he surrendered. So by nature, the king is very merciful and compassionate, being a pure Vaishnava. But here he treated the sage so badly, because it is unprecedented, because it is a situation which Krishna wanted to happen. So it was forced upon, in a way, it was, like Arjuna being placed in a temporary illusion. The king was temporarily placed in an illusion, thereby he will act in such a way so that Srimad Bhagavatam can be talked and we can all be purified by hearing it. So actually we'll finish here, because from the next verse the contemplation of the king starts. That's an entirely different topic. Thank you all for joining. Hopefully you were able to hear the class today. We'll continue with this chapter next week, and we hope to finish this chapter in next week, and then go to the last chapter of the first canto, so that in the new year we can start the next canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. With that, I'll finish the class. Grindaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bo.